Hey guys, welcome back to Relatable Nerds. Kyra here, and today we are going to be breaking down episode 4 of season 2 from The Last of Us. Now, we are halfway through this season. There are only 7 episodes, and things are starting to pick up quite quickly now. Episode 3 kind of left us picking up the pieces after Jackson was destroyed from the infected invasion. We also went through Joel's death in episode 2. There was a time jump 3 months into spring. Ellie and Dina decided to go after Joel's murderers, Abby and company, all of her friends in Seattle. They figured out that she is a part of the WLF, aka the Washington Liberation Front. So they are already in Seattle right now as we start episode 4. Also got an introduction to the Seraphites, aka the Scars. Now this is kind of a religious cult group that is in constant war with the WLF over Seattle territory. And we do get some more backstory on the WLF Seraphite Scar beef in this episode as well. Let's get into it. So this episode begins immediately with a Fedra group. Fedra was one of the factions before WLF took over. If you remember, we did see Fedra in The Last of Us season 1 when we were back on the East Coast when we first met Joel and Ellie. So I'm assuming this is a little bit before times before the WLF formed. You see them go to this part of Seattle that obviously is run down by what happened with the infection. Isaac leaves the truck. He brings one of his comrades with him. We see a woman walk up to him. They shake hands and he ends up bombing the entire car that he was just in with all of his Fedra militia group. That was our first impression of Isaac, and there are many more to come, especially in this episode. So we now cut to Ellie and Dina, and it is Seattle day 1. They are walking around Seattle. It's really cool. A lot of the stuff matches up with the game, the scenes that they have. They go into this pharmacy. Dina's kind of wandering on her own, and so is Ellie. Dina ends up finding a pregnancy test, which we don't know at the time, and she takes it, but we don't really know the answers of it yet, but they start planting that idea in our minds. So they continue on, and they're walking through Capitol Hill, which if you've ever been to Seattle, I thought that was really cool to see an abandoned and deserted Capitol Hill. They're kind of just exploring. They come across a record shop as well. And we know Ellie loves music. She loves guitars, and she goes to the second floor and she finds a guitar in mint condition in a case, and she starts playing the guitar, and it's a very tender moment. Dina comes up to watch her, and Ellie does an acoustic rendition of Take On Me. It was really, really sweet. Dina ends up getting emotional actually, and she starts crying. Another important detail. So something is clearly going on with Dina. Ellie has not put 2 and 2 together yet. We then jump back to Isaac, and we see him talking about when he was younger. He used to love cooking, but he couldn't afford expensive cookware or the tools. You see these like slew of pans hanging up, and he's heating one of them up. We don't know who he's talking to yet, but eventually it pans over to somebody who clearly is being held captive. They're chained to the wall. We find out it's a Scar, and Isaac is trying to get information about him, trying to find out where the Scars are going to strike next. He is heating up that pan to hit the Scar on his hand. And the Scar does not let up, so he ends up killing him. Yet another impression of Isaac. He has no mercy. We then jump back to Dina and Ellie. They enter this building. Upon entering, they realize something has happened here, and they find a bunch of people hung in the building that they go into. They see kind of like blood trickling everywhere, and then they end up hearing a radio, and they're like, oh my God, people are coming here. They called for backup. They realize this split seconds before the WLF enters the room, and they have to hide and go like stealth mode. So that was a really, really intense scene. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's crazy because Seattle is so deserted and there aren't a lot of people obviously around, but as soon as they enter this building, it's like they're met with a bunch of dead people, and they see the WLF within seconds. So people are just constantly sneaking around. It's quite unsettling if you think about it. So Ellie and Dina are kind of sneaking around while the WLF is in there with their guns, and they're looking for them. There's a little bit of a shootout. They end up escaping through a window, but they are closely followed by 2 WLF. They end up hitting a dead end, but see that they can get into a transit tunnel through kind of like a crawl space. So they crawl through, and they end up in kind of this underground transit tunnel subway, and you can kind of see the trains there and stuff. But we know about these dark, deserted spaces in The Last of Us. There are definitely going to be some infected and some clickers and bloaters around. The WLF enters on the other side, and they start looking for them, but their flare guns and the noise wake up the tendrils that are coming out of the ground. Therefore, the infected know that they're there, and so they come swarming out. That entire group of the WLF is wiped out by them, and Ellie and Dina make a pretty crazy run for it. They're running in and out of trains. They're trying to figure out ways to escape. And we're talking there's like 20 plus infected after them. They end up kind of jumping over the train, climbing over a gate to get out of the transit tunnel. But right as they're trying to get through the stubborn turnstile, there is an infected that gets through and he almost bites Dina, but Ellie puts her arm out and they bite Ellie, and Dina is witnessing this. And she obviously doesn't know that Ellie is immune. Nobody knows that. Ellie and Dina escape at the last minute. As they exit outside, it is now dark and raining, per usual in Seattle. It's always raining. And they come across the notorious Pinnacle Theater. Now, if you've played the game, you know this theater is such a huge hub for The Last of Us Part 2. A lot of things go down in this theater. It was really, really cool to finally see it come to life. And they end up going in the theater. But of course, Dina just witnessed Ellie being bit by an infected. So she has her gun up towards Ellie. She's like, I have to kill you now. And she's probably going through a whirlwind of emotions, right? Like, that's her best friend, potential lover, and just so many things going through her mind. Ellie's like, here, I can explain, I'm immune, da 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 da. But of course, initially you wouldn't want to believe that because there's been nobody in the history of this infection that has been immune thus far. So Dina's probably almost like it's too good to be true. She ends up believing Ellie though and lets Ellie fall asleep, but stays awake and has a light on her and her gun. And, after some time passes, she sees that Ellie is actually immune, nothing's changing in her body, nothing's happening to her. Ellie, once again, talks about being immune and she kind of confesses that. And Dina just can't hold it in anymore. And she says, I'm pregnant. Almost immediately, they start going at it. Wow, there is nothing like telling your crush that you're pregnant by another person that really just sets the mood for you guys to want to hook up. I know they've had a lot of sexual tension thus far, and I think it's a really interesting choice for them to want to hook up at that moment. I don't know if I agree with this part of the storytelling in this series. It seemed very bizarre, but nonetheless, they have a tender moment and they hook up and they end up falling asleep. They wake up the next morning and they kind of talk about it again. Dina shows Ellie all of the pregnancy tests that she's taken, which is quite a few at this point. And Ellie says, I'm gonna be a dad, which again, cute that Ellie is ride or die for Dina and she's gonna take on anything she has to be with Dina. She loves Dina so much. Happy for Dina that Ellie had this response, but again, not how it went down in the game. And I think just this whole scene was a little bizarre for me. I really love that Ellie and Dina have each other in the game, and I love that they have each other in the series, but it is starting to differ in such a way that I'm not sure if I'm gonna agree with the storytelling choices for the rest of the season. Still have their walkies. They hear somebody talking on the walkie, and it's Nora, who is a part of Abby's group. So then they go to the roof and they kind of see where the explosion occurred. So they kind of know where this Lake Hill location is. So they know where one of Abby's friends is. And if they go find that one specific friend, they can get closer to Abby. This is a pivotal moment when they're on the roof and they're looking out and seeing everything like that. You kind of feel the anxiety rushing, oh, crap, we're here. This is the moment. Ellie's gonna have to go out and make that decision and get her revenge against Abby. Dina looks like she's set on being with Ellie every step of the way, which obviously a lot of these things have changed now that we know Dina is pregnant. Ellie doesn't want her to be involved with any of this. And that's very much how Ellie responds in the game. She's pretty frustrated with Dina not telling her that she's pregnant, which Dina didn't know. Dina was probably in denial about it all and just wanted to help her best friend. But Ellie's put in a situation now where she's asking her best friend, her lover, her girlfriend, so to say, to come with her on a mission that she could very well die on or injure the baby. The circumstances are a lot different. The stakes are a lot higher. And it just becomes an even more tense scenario now. But that's where we end with episode 4. I don't want to be a stickler and one of those people that's like, this wasn't the same as the game, because I know realistically you obviously have to change certain parts to make it more fluid in the TV show. But let's address a couple of these changes. The first one being Shimmer. Now Shimmer is the horse that Ellie and Dina take to Seattle. In the game, Shimmer dies a pretty rough death, walking over a landmine, and that kind of kills her, and kind of just see them desert Shimmer while they go look into that building, and we don't really see Shimmer again. So that was a slight difference. Kind of really glad we didn't see Shimmer die in the show. That would have been heartbreaking. I think that was a good call. In the game, Ellie doesn't reveal herself as being immune by getting bitten by an infected. Her mask actually breaks when they are around the spores, which the spores aren't in the game, but that's kind of when you breathe in the kind of like infected mold in the air that makes you become infected. Her mask breaks and Dina sees that, and that's how Dina finds out that Ellie is indeed immune. I've already touched base on this fact. Ellie is a lot more upset with Dina's pregnancy initially, and Dina only tells Ellie because she does end up getting sick and she's throwing up constantly, which they did hint to this at moments in the game. We saw Dina throw up in episode 3 when they first come across the deceased bodies of the Seraphites. We see her throw up a couple times. We see her emotional in this episode as well. They were alluding to her pregnancy, but it was a lot different in the game. And like I said, Ellie was really upset that Dina even put herself out there and came along on this journey when she's pregnant. They most definitely did not have sex after Ellie found out that Dina was pregnant, which I think is a very normal reaction. Another not quite major change, but something to note, is that when we did meet Isaac, he was not a Fedra soldier in the game. He was just WLF. I do like that they made him a Fedra soldier in this show, though, because it does kind of show how cutthroat he was, how he was planning to form his own faction and do his own thing. I just think it adds more to his cutthroat, intense character, that he doesn't care about having to leave anyone behind, leave the weak behind, kill the weak, hurt anybody in his way for what he wants to accomplish and what he has to do. I think that actually really works with the storyline. Season 2 has been a whirlwind. I'm a fan of season 2. I am enjoying it so far. I think the cast is doing quite well. I loved a lot of the new characters we've met so far. I think Isabella Merced is doing an absolutely phenomenal job as Dina. I really do not agree with any of the discourse going on about Bella Ramsey right now online. People are so cruel and so incredibly mean to Bella Ramsey, and I just don't understand why they are. I think she's doing a great job as Ellie. She's doing the best job that she possibly can. If you're one of those people who's bullying Bella Ramsey online, you need to get a life. You know who you're talking about? Lady Marmont from Game of Thrones, okay? An 8-year-old queen who led her people to battle for Jon Snow and the Starks. Are you kidding me? Like, did we forget who she was? I think people forgot. Anyways, I think my big beef right now with season 2 is the way everything unfolded after Joel's death. I didn't necessarily enjoy the time jump to spring. I didn't like the fact that Tommy isn't the one that initially went after Joel. I think that changes the dynamic of the game. Jesse still is nowhere to be found. There's a major event that happens with Jesse that changes the trajectory of the rest of this game and Dina and Ellie's life. Obviously, Jesse is the father of Dina's child. I did not mention that. So it's pretty prevalent that his character should be involved by this point, just a little bit more. For now, I'm tuned in. We have 3 episodes left. I'm very nervous where this is going to go. I'm very nervous for the upcoming scenes, the upcoming battle scenes we have, the Rat King. Like, there's so many things that are to come that I am trying to focus on instead. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of episode 4 and what you're thinking about season 2 so far. It's okay if you're not a fan. It's okay if you love it. Let me know your thoughts and your reactions to this week's episode and what you think is going to happen in episode 5. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Bye.